What's up, everyone? Week 5 is upon us. Nameco here, Dustin there, Fantasy Smack Talk. We got all those rankings for you, but first, Dustin, talk about how you make some bets.
Get on to mybookie.ag. Where you place your bets is just as important as what you bet on. Where their motto is, you play, you win, you get paid. Click on the link in the description. Use promo code SMACK, get up to 100% sign-up bonus, and you should always be looking at those over-unders when considering who you should be starting every week, which is something that we look at to figure these out.
I got a silly parlay this week. Might throw it in the comments for y'all. Help you make some cash. All right, going into the quarterbacks, I gotta talk about Deshaun Watson. This kid's been absolutely ridiculous the last couple weeks. And I know he's, Patriots one week, he's had some easier matchups, but we still have him ranked, and it's even though it's Kansas City, we still have him ranked at number 6 right now. The kid's been ridiculous, with the passing touchdown, the rushing yards, but what I really like about him is over the last 3 weeks, he's been averaging about 40 rushing yards. So whenever you have a quarterback that does that, those 4 quick points, what does 40 rushing yards equate to in passing yards, Dustin?
Depends on your league settings, but roughly 120 if you're at 30.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at you got to factor that in, and he's going to keep getting those. Every time he scrambles, he can squeak out and get a couple, and I love all the things that I'm hearing about him. Good head on his shoulder. Watson's the real deal. Sorry, Jets fans, you should have taken him.
Oh, and another real deal, a guy that I've been waiting for this to happen. So excited, love me some Mitchell Trubisky. Big fan of his, and I think he's another guy that can throw in 30 to 50 rushing yards a week. And when that happens, you only need to throw for 200 yards to have a solid week. Not the easiest matchup on his first start on Monday night with all the pressure going up against Minnesota. He probably will make some mistakes, but I don't think any type of 2 quarterback league, I think he should be considered. I don't think I would completely shy away from him just because of potential rushing yards.
Dustin loves this guy. Him or Watson? Season. Ooh, better career.
Career? Yeah. I'll take Trubisky.
Of course you will. We're gonna make that bet later. It's gonna be great. Easy money. All right, next I want to give a shout out to the ECU Dynasty League. Want to give a shout out to Michaels. Met the young man at the Vineyard the other night. Came up to me. Dustin, have you been recognized yet? So if you're too scared to come up and talk to Dustin, feel free to do that. But just want to give a quick shout out. 4-0 is how he's living, and he just whooped up on the Putz Caleb, who's 0-4. Another happy Fantasy Smack Talk subscriber. Caleb, I'm sure not a bad guy.
Talk about running backs.
Running backs. Leonard Fournette, going to talk about him playing against the Steelers. The thing with Fournette, and I initially had him a little bit lower, and Dustin and I were talking about the rankings. He's like, you got to move him up. And you do. He's found the end zone every single week. The attempts are going to be there. Even if the Jags are behind, they're still going to be feeding him the ball. He is as good of a chance to hit a touchdown every single week as any running back on this list. Therefore, we have him ranked fairly high this week. 17,
Mr. Bilal Powell. He showed us last week why people were drooling over him on draft day in a sense. And I was. I think he was in a great position in PPR leagues. And where he was going in drafts, I thought he was a steal. But they weren't giving him the ball. And Forte finally gets out of the way, and what does Bilal do? He goes nuts. If Forte's out of the way again, we would move him up even further, but we're ranking him right here, assuming that Forte might try to give it a go, but just keep that in mind. We would rank him higher if Forte is out.
Number 28, I want to talk about Doug Martin. Dougie Fresh, my boy. But Jacquizz Rodgers is still there. It's uncertain what his role is going to be Thursday night against the Patriots. Due to that fact, we have him ranked as such, but based on reports you're going to hear before the game, you probably own both of them. I know a lot of people did that because obviously Martin was suspended the first couple weeks. You got to listen to the early reports, watch the pregame, see what they're saying. I actually think Doug Martin's going to get a lot more reps than the guy to my right believes, but
I think they could both have good games, but I just think Rodgers will be more involved because it'll probably be pass-heavy game.
But due to the uncertainty, that's why it's ranked here. If you have an option that's a little more certain, that's why you got to play him over him.
And another uncertain situation going on in Seattle. But don't worry, Pete Carroll cleared it all up. He said, Lacey and Rawls will handle the duties.
No, great.
Thanks. Well, at least we narrowed it down to 2. So Brent thinks it's going to be Lacey.
I do.
I think it's going to be Rawls that gets the first chance. So I think it's going to be the hot hand. I mean, whoever's the hot hand is going to get the run, I feel. But again, we got him down here. It's just too risky. I mean, if you have other options where the touches are more guaranteed, you probably should go that route unless we get a lot of clarity. And before we get into wide receivers, don't forget about our FanDuel game. We're still rolling. We keep getting beat, but it's been fun though.
Hey, I had a couple hits last week.
We've had a couple close calls of being able to brag about winning, but we haven't quite pulled it out yet. So shout out to Reeser123, won the t-shirt last week. Click on the link in the description. Join our leagues, $5 league. You get a sweet t-shirt that's printed up by our buddies over at sneakies.com. And you get the cash just like you would in a regular tournament. It's a lot of fun. Get in there.
All right, we're moving over to wide receivers. I want to talk about my boy Doug Baldwin, sticking with that Seattle offense. And the reason I want to bring him up here, we have him ranked just outside of the top 10. And the reason for that is, I know he played, but the injury's still a little bit lingering. However, before he got hurt, it looked like Russell Wilson was just going to start force-feeding him the ball because Jimmy Graham's terrible. Their other options at wideout aren't that good. And I think there's a good chance from this game on that it's going to be the same thing. He's going to be a target monster, and you know how I feel about targets. Doug Baldwin, if you can trade for him now, I think he's a great person to buy.
Moving down one spot to Tyreek Hill. I know it was a rough week 4. He had a hard time finding some space. Not the easiest matchup, but not a terrible matchup going up against Houston. Here's the thing with Hill, you drafted him, you knew he was going to be somewhat boom or bust, so you got to take the good with the bad. It's hard to bench a guy like Hill from week to week, so we got him at 12 just because there's so much blow-up potential each week. But again, you're going to have to take some of the good with the bad.
All right, we talked about it, or I talked about it, or we might have both talked about it. Either way, I talked about it in my FanDuel picks. Funchess, with Greg Olsen being out, a lot of targets coming his way, and it certainly has been living up to it. He's had 19 targets in the last 2 weeks, been absolutely, I just love that factor. And he got some hype a couple years ago when he first came into the league, and just, you know, big receiver, can run good routes. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if any of you or anyone out there saw it, but the Cam Newton with the, it's funny having a woman say something about route running. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah.
It's a debacle. Cam, what are you doing? But I think it was about Funchess. The only reason I bring it up, either way, he's definitely worth it. If he's on your wire, I would scoop him because Olsen isn't coming back anytime soon.
I don't think he said it was funny. I think he said it was weird. Just to clear,
like
it's a little
that's
different.
Never happened to him.
It's a little different though. Funny and weird are
a
definitely
show. He really is.
Will Fuller is next at 37, and I know it was a monster game for him last week, and he was a big waiver wire pickup, but he only had 4 catches. 2 of them just happened to be touchdowns. I'm a Will Fuller fan. I think he will have some more big games, but until we see some consistency, I know he's just coming back, just getting healthy, but until he proves some consistency, I don't know if you can really jump him up much higher. But if you're looking for a boomer bust guy and you don't like your matchup and you feel like you're playing from behind, you know, I can't hate on you throwing him in your flex spot, but that's about the best we could say for him for this week. And don't forget, if you got questions, you got lineup questions, post them in the comments. We've been answering a lot of them. I think we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping up with them for as many as been coming through. So
and feel free to answer other people's as well.
Yeah, make it
the community.
Community. It's good.
That was like you were quoting something that's not really there.
We just
all right, we just made it. So there you go, Dust. That's what we do here. Trailblazers. All right, go to tight ends. Talking about Kelsey. You know, we loved Kelsey coming into the year, and he had that week 3 debacle where he only had 1 target, which made no sense. Other than that, he's been sitting at about 8-9 targets a game. He's gonna have 8 or 9 targets again. If you know, watch him on that Monday night, he's just great running the seams. He can do slants. He can catch it deep. Kelsey's the real deal. He's absolutely fantastic. He's going to continue to be great. But stop those stupid penalties.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so ridiculous.
We know it was a first down. You don't need to tell us.
Yeah, I hate when people do it on the first down.
And at number 10, just inside our top 10, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. He was our 20th tight end last week. We talked about him in terms of just, hey, put him on your radar. It might be time. The Jets need somebody to step up, and you know he's proving to be pretty consistent so far in what we've seen from him. I don't think he's going to blow up, but you know, again, we talk about all the time with tight ends. I like having ones that have high floors but still a decent ceiling, and at this point, I think Seferian-Jenkins has a decent floor now, so we got him right inside the top 10.
All right, it gives me great pleasure to announce the Vikings are back as the #1 ranked defense for a week.
For this week.
Well, it's only going to be this week, unfortunately. But anyone knows, last year I absolutely loved the Vikings. And this week, going up against a rookie quarterback with a team that has nobody that can catch the ball, they're decent against the run. I think they have a big, big week. They should not be on anyone's waiver wire.
Trubisky probably will have 1 or 2 mistakes.
I'm taking pick 6.
He's going to run all over him. You watch.
5th pass of the game, pick 6. Calling it right now.
I'm going to talk about Oakland at number 8. Over-under on mybookie.ag is 39 on that game. And with Carr out and the Ravens looking terrible, I wouldn't even mind betting the under on that. This could turn out to be kind of an ugly game. You know, and I really just don't have much faith in Baltimore's offense. I think the Raiders will be able to get at least 3 sacks, maybe more. So that's it for week 5. Good luck this week. Post comments.
Boom!
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good luck, Michael. Good luck to you, Caleb, as well. Vineyard. We met there. What is it supposed to be called,
I
Dustin?
call it a vineyard. It's a yard full of vines.
He brings that up very often.
It
At
makes
least
no sense.
once every 3 months I hear you bring that up.
Why is it a vineyard? It makes no sense. It's a yard full of vines.
Does somebody know why it's called vineyard? I'd love to know in the
Vineyard
comments.
just doesn't sound fancy enough.
Do you think it's only because of the fanciness?
No. That's the only thing I can think of.